from 500 PMT to 400, and on locally produced cigarettes have been enhanced nominally. On the international travel, the rates have been revised with one amendment, that earlier FED was applicable on the international travel, even a passenger embarking from outside Pakistan for Pakistan. That he or she was also liable to pay the FED, but that has been done away with. After withdrawal of FED on all other items, the levy would continue to apply on the following items. Conceptually, and as is the practice in the other countries, usually the FED is applicable on the lavish or luxury items. But on the contrary, here we can see edible oil, vegetable ghee, and cement, and natural gas. And quite interestingly, beauty parlors, etc., have been excluded or exempted this year. On the customs duty, the maximum general tariff is proposed to reduce to 30%, and duty on 88 pharmaceutical raw materials have been reduced from 10 to 5%. Concessions have been provided for import of raw materials to promote indigenous industry, and very interesting amendment, any custom officer, if he is aggrieved with the order of any other customs authority, can now also file an appeal to the collector of appeals. Probably only unique to the customs laws, because the officer is not empowered to file appeal against other officer or himself to the commissioner in the case of income tax and in the case of sales tax. So this is the unique, probably that shows the mistrust or gap of communication amongst the customs authorities, amongst themselves. So with this, thank you very much for your kind and patient hearing.
Thank you, Saqib Sahab, for this concise presentation. Our second speaker for today is Mr. Asad Umar. Mr. Asad Umar was President and Chief Executive Officer of Engro Corporation Limited from January 2004 till early retirement in May 2012. He currently is the Senior Vice President of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Mr. Asad Umar started his career with HSBC Pakistan, and in 1985 he joined Exxon Pakistan, subsequently renamed Engro. Mr. Umar has previously been the Chairman of Pakistan Business Council, Pakistan Chemical and Energy Sector Skill Development Company, and Punjab Skill Development Company. He has also held directorships of State Bank of Pakistan, Karachi Education Initiative, Dawood Hercules Corporation Limited, Oil and Gas Development Company Limited, Karachi Stock Exchange, Pakistan Center for Philanthropy, Pakistan State Oil Port Qasim Authority, Pakistan Institute of Corporate Governance, and member of the Board of Trustees of Lahore University of Management Sciences. He is also past chapter chair of Young Presidents Organization, Pakistan chapter. He graduated as an MBA from IBA Karachi in 1984 and was awarded the Sitara Imtiaz by the Government of Pakistan in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Asad Umar.
Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you very much to the Southern Chapter ICAP for inviting me to speak here. I've been to quite a few ICAP forums over the years, so we are old friends. पुराने उस्ताद मेरे सामने बैठे हैं, good to see them all here. अच्छा, मुझसे उन्होंने पूछा था presentation आप किस चीज़ पे करेंगे, because मेरी assumption ये थी कि by the time we arrive at this session आप सबको budget रट चुका होगा. So my presentation is actually not about the budget itself, and it's actually a presentation that I put together just a couple of weeks back at somebody's request on what are the immediate threats which face Pakistan's economy and what are the triggers for growth. So we'll spend a little bit of time on what are the immediate threats which you're most familiar with, but I also want to talk about the potential of Pakistan's economy और future growth कहाँ से आ सकती है और मेरे ख्याल में बेतहाशा growth आ सकती है if we can overcome these immediate challenges. This is a much talked about subject, the many different graphs and charts that you can show here. But one of the key things which is holding back the Pakistani economy is the lack of investment. The decline in investment, this is a number I've been talking about for a while now, and unfortunately वो और मज़ीद से मज़ीद ख़राब होता जा रहा है, उसमें बेहतरी नज़र नहीं आ रही. After having climbed to a high of 22.5%, in the last 4 years, the investment to GDP ratio has come down very sharply to 12.5%. 10% decline is a massive decline. It's more than $20 billion in a single year. And obviously its impact on the economy you can gauge for yourself. So पिछले 4 साल में जो हमारी GDP growth कम हुई है उसमें one of the reasons has been the negative contribution of investment because investment गिरती रही है, so instead of growth there has been decline. But this is also eating into future growth of the country. जब productive capacity नहीं create होगी तो बाहर future में growth कहाँ से आएगी and where will jobs be created from? And one of the aspects जिसकी वजह से ये हो रहा है, the two, in my opinion, 2 or 3 key impacts. One of the reasons for that is the crowding out of the private sector from the credit markets. I'm sure there must be some bankers in the crowd and the bankers disagree with me on this one and say जिसको जो credit वर्दी है उसको credit मिलता है. I beg to disagree. The large corporations still have access to credit. Engros of this world still get credit as much as they want, whenever they want. No issues there. But 4 straight years, the SME sector as a whole, the entire SME sector of Pakistan put together, has seen a decline in the total stock of debt outstanding. That is a staggering number. That means कि न सिर्फ 4 साल में मजमूई तौर पे पाकिस्तान का तमाम SME sector put together, the thousands and thousands of small and medium companies which make up the SME sector of Pakistan, over a 4-year period have not only not received a single incremental rupee of debt, actually they have been retiring debt 4 years in a row. The consumer 4 years in a row has seen a decline in the stock outstanding of debt. So there is a very real, very palpable, very measurable reduction in the total credit being given out to the private sector of Pakistan. And why that's happening? Because the government of Pakistan is on a borrowing binge unparalleled in our history. I mean, it's just absolutely staggering the amount of borrowing that is going on these days. We've run very high fiscal deficits before. In the 80s, we ran very high fiscal deficits in the 80s, but those were on the back of foreign, support that was coming in at that period of time, and it was not a good decision, it was a bad decision, but still it was not heavily dependent on local borrowing. This year, we are going to end the year by our estimates with a fiscal deficit of more than 1700 billion rupees. According to the finance minister, the fiscal deficit is going to be more than 1500 billion rupees. The original fiscal deficit in the budget was 850 billion rupees. So by our estimate, the actual fiscal deficit will be double that of the original estimate, and even by the finance minister's estimate, it will be almost double. What is more scary is how this deficit is being financed. If you look at the total deficit of this 1500 to 1700 billion rupees, less than 100 billion rupees are foreign inflows. There is no privatization, so no proceeds coming from there. About 2/3 of this is bank debt, about 1 trillion rupees of bank debt which is being picked up by the government of Pakistan, and approximately 1/3, about 500 billion rupees will be monetization of the deficit from borrowing from State Bank of Pakistan, या जिसको आसान अल्फाज में कहा जाता है नोट छापना. This unprecedented level of monetization of deficits is creating a situation which Pakistan has never faced before, because without going into the details of next year, well, थोड़ा सा मैं आपको बताया तो 1600 अरब के करीब मेरे ख्याल में अगले साल का फिर आपके पास कम से कम डेफिसिट होने जा रहा है. Again, with no significant foreign inflows on the air, the total ability of the banking sector to create new deposits which will allow it to lend to the government is going to be less than 1 trillion. So another about 500 to 600 billion rupees of monetization of the deficit or state bank borrowing is going to happen next year.